Welcome to Talkin' Ship, the Venture Asheville podcast, where we talk about topics and issues in entrepreneurship. If you are looking for a podcast on schooners, frigates, catamarans, dinghies, pontoons, or runabouts, well, you're in the wrong place. If you want to talk about startups, tech, Asheville, and entrepreneurship, that's my ship. And this ship is a floater, not a sinker. I like that new intro. Floater, not sinker.
I like it.
All right, we'll keep going. Venture Asheville is the high-growth entrepreneurship initiative of the Economic Development Coalition for Asheville-Buncombe County. We build entrepreneurs and get startups funded. I'm Jeffrey Kaplan, the director of Venture Asheville and lover of a good caprese salad. With me is the wonderful, smart, talented, considerate, creative Juliana Walker, our master of interactive media. Juliana, give me some good news.
Well, I also love a caprese salad, and I just had one for lunch. So I think we're on the same page here.
Did you make it or did you get it from somewhere?
I made it.
Did you?
Went home, made a caprese salad, ate it, came back.
I had mine brought in from Romans for our team lunch.
Oh, they're a business of the month for August.
Are they?
So look at you.
Plug in AshevilleChamber.org.
Yeah. Yes, I am.
Speaking of the chamber, Juliana, you're pretty new here. When did you start?
I started February 22nd, 2021.
So that was almost 5 months ago. It feels like a lot less because of the pandemic. I just met you in person a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you, as our newest employee, how would you describe the culture of the Chamber of Commerce where we're both employed?
It's a very collaborative culture, and that was very hard for me I could see it via Zoom in our meetings, but I couldn't really grasp it until we have seen a lot more people come into the office for work since the beginning of July. So very collaborative, very friendly, and empathetic, I would say, too. Good company culture.
Cool. So I put you on the spot to answer that question because I personally struggle with how to describe this culture other than through common values. As you said, empathetic is a good one. I find that everyone here really loves Asheville and desires to see a thriving business community because what that community provides is things like great restaurants, great amenities, great attractions, good reasons to live here, right? What's probably unique to our chamber and our EDC than others is that we also have like an antagonist in the community, right? We have this big bad wolf of tourism and hospitality. And I think everyone here who works here has a chip on their shoulder, to an extent, to make Asheville truly livable and workable for everyone who owns restaurants and owns startups, who work in restaurants, work in startups. So speaking of livability in Asheville, we have a new homeowner with us today, among other things. Tracy Eames is the founder of Teams & Co., here to talk with us about team building, culture, and the Ville. Tracy, how are things?
Doing well, Jeff. How are you? Juliana, nice to be here.
We are thrilled to have you with us. Things are going well.
Awesome.
It's been a nice Tuesday. Was that business before hours at Dynamite Coffee in Black Mountain. It was a great way to start my morning.
Awesome.
Well, Tracy, we didn't bring you in here to talk about livability and coffee. We brought you in to talk about company culture. So I want to jump right in and ask you, why is ping pong the de facto symbol of company culture?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, Jeff. We notice this a lot. So Teams & Co., we work with organizations who are growing and growing quickly. We help them set that strong foundation for growth. And one of the things we notice is when you're growing quickly, leaders often try to do a lot of things, right? And we've all been there, right? You're in meetings all day, you're trying to manage your team, you've all these ambitious strategies. And what happens oftentimes is some of these concepts like employee engagement or culture get kind of boiled down into a checklist almost. So it's like, okay, got the ping pong table, check, we're good. And it's mostly because, again, we're trying to do the best for our teams. We're trying to make, the workplace fun. We have all the right intentions, but oftentimes we're not taking that extra step to really think through, is that what culture is? Or are there deeper meanings to it? And are there other things I could be doing to create a meaningful experience versus some of those checklist items?
So it's like a real big step back here. Why are you this expert in company culture and team building?
Yeah, so Teams & Co., we're a management consulting firm. We work, again, with organizations who are looking to grow. So this could be a larger organization that has multi-functions, multi-locations, Maybe they're working on kind of a product roadmap or, a digital ecosystem, something that's really large scale. A lot of teams have to work together on it. They need some help in terms of putting those processes and helping those teams work more collaboratively. And we also work with, you mentioned startups at the beginning. Startups that are kind of post-funding oftentimes have this challenge where maybe they have funding and now they need to scale, right? They need to commercialize, they need to build a sales team, build a marketing team, and they need help doing that. And we do all of that and everything in between. So our goal is to help organizations grow. And the big part of that for us is we want to make sure that teams have all the processes and tools they need to be successful. So a lot of times folks will ask us like, oh, is your goal employee engagement or is your goal kind of culture? And we always say those are things that come out of our work. But the goal of our work is to make sure that teams are empowered, they have the resources to achieve the strategies, and ultimately the organization is well positioned to deliver customer value and those exceptional experiences that we're all looking for as customers, right?
So this obsession with company culture is it's like the forest of the trees, right? If you're doing everything right, treating people right, and having policies in place, the culture naturally happens. It's not saying, hey guys, we're doing free beer Fridays and we got the ping pong table and hey, we're putting a nap room in the old closet. That's not company culture.
Yeah, that's what we always say. We say if you're doing, we often speak about this with our clients is if you're kind of making sure your teams have what they need to be successful, the culture will follow, right? So most people, when they come into work, they want to know what they're doing, right? So do I have a clear job description? Do I know what I'm responsible for? Does that have meaning to the organization, right? So we talk about line of sight. Does what I do every day matter and help this organization grow? We all want to have an impact, right? You mentioned that in the beginning with the chamber. People who work at the chamber want to have a positive impact on the community of Asheville. And then we want to know that we're going to be able to come into work and do our job and be successful. So do I have the tools I need? Do I have the resources I need? Or do I spend every day in meetings where I just feel like I'm spinning my wheels and not getting anything done? And then last but not least, I want to know that I'm going to be well rewarded for that work, right? So whether that's pay or benefits or a combination of both, I want to feel like I'm valued. And usually if an organization can put all those things together, what we find people mean by culture is I enjoy going to work. I feel like I'm a valued member of the team, and I value being a part of the team that I'm a part of. And so again, yeah, we sort of say, hey, if you're leading and you're empowering your teams well, culture will follow because all the things that go into culture go into successful business, right? You want to have strong feedback loops. You want to have strong communication. You want to have clear goals. You want to have a clear strategy. All of those things help you build a great business, help you deliver customer value, and they also result in what most folks feel like is a strong culture.
That's it's fascinating. I was having a conversation with a buddy who runs a business, and I was ragging on company culture, saying my thing was like, I don't think people care if there's a company culture. People just want to be treated well, and people want to be compensated well, and kind of the rest will naturally follow. And so I was kind of giving him a hard time, saying, I think your emphasis on company culture is overrated. You're putting too much emphasis there. Do you think it's a huge industry, people who are purely culture, speakers and consultants. Is this whole thing, are they putting the cart before the horse?
Yeah, I think company culture is vitally important. I don't think you achieve company culture by going after that. I think you achieve it by going after the building blocks of what employees are looking for, right? So I think that's where I think a lot of organizations and leaders fall short, and they don't understand why, right? They're like, well, I put the ping pong table in and we have beer Fridays. Why don't we have this strong culture? And it's because if people feel like, that's kind of all window dressing, right? So if folks come to work and they don't know what they're supposed to be doing, they don't have a clear goal set, they don't have the tools to be successful, right? They don't have those basic processes in place where they feel like I can get things done. Then, at the end of the day, having a ping pong table probably doesn't make as big of an impact for folks, right? Like if you've got all the building blocks in place and people feel valued and they feel like they can do a good job, then great, add the ping pong table if that's what people want. But that's the other thing, right? A lot of times leaders aren't asking their teams what they want. They're just doing the things they've heard make for a good culture. So
Mhm.
we always talk about, have that conversation with your team, right? Have those team meetings, say, hey, do you feel like, we're doing well as a team? Do you feel like we communicate? Do you feel like you have what you need to be successful? If all those things are yeses, then great. Like, do you want to go out and do a team building event? Do you want to have, a company celebration? Do you want to have a ping pong table? Do you want to have something else? But we like to make sure all those building blocks are in place, and we think company culture follows versus trying to go after, some of those things that are a little bit more elusive, but never empowering your teams at the front end of it.
And the way I was taught about company culture, going back to when I was in grad school, was it's the most competitive advantage you can have for employee loyalty. That it's so hard to find good people, and it's really hard to replace people. You want to have low churn. You want loyal long-term employees, and they stick around for culture. I feel like that's not true, and you're giving us way more detail of what actually gives people reasons to stick around, right? When I know I'm doing a good job and I feel like I'm compensated fairly for that, I'll stick around, right? So I kind of summarize your talking points as having meaning, having guardrails, like what's in and out of bounds, and feeling empowered that I can do my job.
Yeah.
Are those the best ways to keep employees loyal?
I think so. We find great results with that in terms of, again, I think it depends on what your definition of company culture is, right? Most folks, again, what we hear, and again, this is what we hear is, I want to go to work, I want to be able to do a good job, and I want to, be able to contribute to my team. And company culture to me, I think you and Juliana were hitting it out in the beginning, right? We're collaborative, right? Collaborative has nothing to do with a ping pong table. Collaborative has to do with, as a leader and as a team, we're setting norms within our group that say, we value collaboration, and therefore we're going to set up team meetings. We're going to set up a process where we can all work together. We're going to set up shared goals. So what you, Jeff, do each day supports what Juliana does, and vice versa. You're working together to create that common and shared goal. And all of those things we think result in a great culture. They result in a place where we all say, we value working here. We feel valued working here. But they're not necessarily the kind of things that folks tend to aim at. And with the things we tend to aim at tend to be those things that are kind of the result versus, like, it's the ends versus the means, right? So we want to make sure that we're giving people those tools along the way. And at the end of the day, yeah, if we all want to stick around and hang out for a little while, that's probably a sign that we've done the beginning pieces correctly.
So when Juliana and I were talking about what makes our company culture, I wasn't picking up on anything tangible. We were just really picking up on values and what motivates the people who work here. Is that where you start if you were to engage with a partner? If you're to do your first audit or your first encounter with a client, is that where you begin? Values?
We always start with kind of those strategic mission foundational statements, right? Mission, vision, values. The reason we do that is because every organization has a vision and a mission, right? And that usually revolves around what kind of value are we providing to our community, to our customers. And that's what gives us that shared purpose, right? So as a team, we have to have a shared purpose. A lot of us played sports as kids. We had a shared purpose, right? We wanted to win the championship. So that was a little bit more of a discrete goal. But in our work lives, we have to kind of have that unifying purpose. And that usually within a business is, how do we best serve our customers? So we always start with, okay, what's that value we're creating? What's that vision? What's that mission? If we're working in a nonprofit, who are the clients we're serving? What's the overall mission we're serving? That shared purpose then translates into, okay, what's our strategy? How are we going to meet that vision and mission each year? And then from there, we should have individual and team goals that come out of that. So that way we all know that everything we're doing every day is supporting our strategy, which is supporting our mission, which is supporting our vision. And that keeps us all aligned. So that helps us move quickly. It helps us, you hear also people talk about, how can we be more agile? You can be more agile if you're aligned, right? If you're all moving in the same direction, it's a lot easier to be agile and adjust course than if you're all moving in different directions. And then you have to get everybody back on the same page to move again. And so that alignment is why we start with vision, mission, and values. It really helps connect everybody to that shared purpose and that shared kind of sense of why are we in this together.
Kind of off topic. Let me ask you,
Yeah.
is the old adage, people don't leave bad jobs, they leave bad bosses. Is it true?
I mean, I think it's hard to say anytime, like, we've all seen those lists, right? Like the reasons why people leave. I think every individual has their own reasons and their own things that they value in an organization, right? Like we're all individuals. But I think that people do leave when they don't feel like when they don't feel like they're being supported and they don't feel like their work is being valued. And so if I have to go into a role every day and I don't really know what I'm doing there and I don't feel like I have that support network, I don't feel like I have a good connection with my leader or with my team, I might go searching for those things because to me, that might be of value, right? Like if I want to be in a collaborative space and my team and my leader aren't offering that, then yes, right? So I think there's a certain amount of truth to that statement in the sense that as leaders, our biggest responsibility is to help support our team and help them be successful in their roles. And what success means might vary person to person, but that's our job as leaders, is to help figure out like, okay, what does success mean to you and how can I help you reach that?
So now that millennials are the largest population in the workforce, right? Millennials are all about feedback and feeling good and right, all that kind of. As a millennial, I take the blame for all that. Needing praise, right? Because we were all told we were so special as kids. So before Gen Z gets into the workforce, like how much of your work is intergenerational? That the supervisors, the key leaders, the C-suite is still mostly boomers, right? The Gen Xers, and millennials have now become the majority of the workforce.
Yeah, I think that every organization has, the intergenerational dynamic, but I also think that most people want feedback, right? Like I don't think that's a unique thing to millennials. I think most people want to know, am I doing a good job? How can I improve? And I think where we fall down sometimes as leaders is making kind of assumptions of like, oh, this group wants this and this group wants this, when really just having that conversation with your team members will help you know what that is, right? Like we always joke with people like a conversation can actually solve a lot of these mysteries, right? Like leaders will be like, I don't know what my team wants. And we're like, have you asked your team what they want? Right? Like they're right there. You have one-on-ones. And so I think that's where we try to build that. We think communication is the most critical thing you can do, right? Figure out, not every team member is going to want to have a weekly one-on-one, but maybe it's every other week. Maybe some want to meet in the mornings. Maybe some would rather have a couple of meetings that are shorter throughout the week because their communication style is more iterative and that's how they thrive. And so we always say to leaders like, hey, we can't tell you what your team wants. I mean, we can ask them and then we can tell you. We just suggest you have that meeting with them, right? Like have a team assimilation, go through how do we want to communicate as a team? What do we find valuable? How do we best work together? Start that conversation and you'll start to notice your team members actually take charge of a lot of that because now they feel empowered. They're like, oh, my leader wants us to like communicate, that he or she wants us to like be out there and kind of communicating with each other and taking, to your point, guardrails and guidelines. We talk about that a lot, right? So if I'm in meetings all day and I'm not communicating with my team, how do I help them be successful? Well, I say, hey, you know what? These things are kind of the guardrails. If you're within these guardrails, go full speed ahead, right? If you need to like get more information from me, then you can come back, and that's where kind of the guidelines come in, right? But that gives your team the freedom to work together and really, really speed up your processes. But yeah, we always say ask, right? That's the best way to know what somebody wants as an individual, because no two individuals will be the same, right? We all have our personal preferences. So as a leader, just have that conversation with your team members and see what they prefer.
Tracy, you sound like somebody who really knows what she's talking about. Would you kindly share with our listeners and Juliana, who's never met you, your background?
Yeah, sure. I've been extremely lucky in my career, and I've had great opportunities. So I've had opportunities to work for family-owned companies, big, larger multinational organizations. Worked for some companies in the private equity area, startups. And really mostly on the commercial side of the business, right? So I was very lucky. I started out of college as a salesperson and got to have a lot of experiences leading, regional, national, international sales efforts. I've been blessed to live in a lot of different countries around the world. So I've had exposure to, lots of different markets and cultures, and moved a lot in the States as well. I think we were trying to count it the other day, my family and friends and I, and I've moved about 20 times in my life, which is averages out to be about once a year. Yeah, but I think from my perspective, one of the things I've valued the most in my career is I've had tremendous leaders who have given me exceptional opportunities, right? Some of those have been stretches, and that's where I've learned a lot of my leadership lessons from is leaders who said, hey, you know what? This is going to be a stretch role for you. This is going to help you learn a lot, but I'm going to be here with you, and I'm going to help you as you go. So just raise your hand and say when you need some help. And those kinds of roles helped me learn a tremendous amount about new things. So I said I spent most of my time in commercial roles, sales, marketing, product development, innovation. But I actually had an operations role in one of my companies where I was leading a PMO, a program management office. And it was a totally new experience for me. But the great thing about it was I had great leaders that surrounded me, both as mentors and direct bosses, who helped me through that process and helped me be successful in a new area. And obviously now that helps me help other organizations be successful. So
what did you hear from your supervisors or your mentors at the time that made you feel so comfortable and safe to raise your hand when you felt stuck or needed help or didn't know an answer to something? What were the elements of that culture that helped you develop into such an impactful and impressive individual?
I think it wasn't so much what I heard, but it was the behavior I saw modeled to me, right? So as an individual, if I hear from my boss or my manager, I want you to ask questions. But if when I ask questions, I get blamed for doing something wrong or I get penalized, that doesn't reinforce that you want me to ask questions, right? Or if I give you feedback and I have a lot of ideas, but every time I have an idea, none of them get put into practice, that tells me, okay, feedback's not valued here. So one of the things that I've seen done tremendously throughout my career by leaders who I respect and I still have wonderful relationships with is kind of that open dialogue of, hey, we can't. Sorry, that's my dog. She's she's in the background.
We've had a lot of dogs in the podcast. Join the club.
She's a star in the home office show here.
That's right.
But yeah, I think for leaders, the thing that I found most impactful, and I try to echo to other leaders, is saying, hey, we can't do everything, right? There's going to be ideas we all come up with that we can't put into practice. But when we can put something into practice, we're going to try to do that. So what I find really impactful is those situations where I've said, hey, can we do it this way? And they say, sure, show me your plan for that. Let's walk through your plan. Let's make sure your plan, and then we have those back and forth meetings where we hash out, okay, you could do this a little bit better, then you could do this a little bit better. But having that support to put that plan into action and having ownership over that action, those were the things in my career that really stuck with me of like, oh, my idea was valued and I was given the tools to actually implement and own something. It gave me that sense of empowerment and ownership that helped me believe in that idea and then execute it even better.
So you've experienced it from the employee side. You help leaders implement it. You speak mostly to leaders. So if someone like Juliana came to you and said, hey, I'm a new employee in an organization and I want to have an impact on my company culture or the policies here that shape culture and the values, what advice would you have for someone like Juliana?
Yeah, what we always say is we say to talk to your leader, right? So if you're saying, hey, you know what, I would like to do X, Y, or Z, then have that conversation, right? When we talk to teams, what we always say is it's great to say you want to change something, but having an idea of how you want to change it is even better, right? So as a team member, if I think we could improve our collaboration by structuring our team meetings differently, then you could go and say to your leader, hey, you know what, I have this idea. I would like to put it into practice. Do you mind if I try it out with the team, right? And then having that idea then kind of takes the onus off the leadership of they have to solve it. And you're taking the ownership into, oh, I would like to see if this works. The other thing we always say to, especially for new team members and all team members when you're trying something, is have metrics for success, right? Like, so Juliana, how will you know your idea worked, right? And if you can go to your leader and say, hey, I have this idea And if we can achieve these 3 things, we know it worked. Great. Because now as a leader, I know, okay, Juliana has a great idea. She's willing to take ownership over said idea, and she's going to track our progress. And if we don't meet those objectives, then we can all work together to get us back on track. But at least we know we're measuring something along the way, right? And so I think that inspires confidence from a leadership side. It also gives you as a team member a tremendous amount of ownership over the process because you show you've thought through all the pieces and parts.
You know, I introduced Juliana as our master of interactive media because she has a master's degree in interactive media. And so it seems to really fit. So things like the podcast, we're letting her run with. Like we're giving her guardrails to an extent, and we hope there's meaning here. Like, you know, we have goals in mind what we want to achieve, the kind of audience we want to reach, how many episodes we want to put out, how regularly. But we're also letting her decide her own destiny with where this podcast goes. And I hope that makes you feel empowered.
Oh, absolutely. I like having a baby to nourish in this podcast. Not a physical baby yet, though.
We heard you. We got that. Yep.
Maybe a weird metaphor to use, but it's the one I went with.
You're spending too much time with me is what it is. If I have a baby at home and listening, thinking there's something weird going on here. It's not. That's how we're, yeah. I should probably just move right along. Tracy, what kind of companies do you like working with?
Yeah, so we're lucky. We work with all different kinds of companies. Like I said, we've worked with really large organizations that have big cross-functional projects, all the way, to startups who are kind of trying to look to commercialize and everything in between. We're really lucky we get to work across sectors. The thing we're most excited about right now is we just launched Teams Global, which is our education arm. And so Teams Global is an online learning platform that actually helps leaders gain some of this knowledge that we have via not going through a consulting project, right? So one of the things we heard over the last 18 months, obviously we've all been kind of navigating this world in the last 18 months of virtual work. Maybe some of our jobs have changed. Maybe we've lost a job and we're starting a new career. One of the things we've heard from leaders a lot is, hey, you know what? I want to take my career into my own hands, and I want to learn some of the things you talk about in terms of managing teams on my own, right? Maybe that's just something I want to do in my spare time. So we've launched Teams Global, which is an online education platform that leaders and their teams can take trainings around, first-time leadership, setting goals, ownership to action. That's a lot about how do we delegate, how do we bring goals into life, and different courses that you can kind of just fit into your day. You could watch a 10-minute video, do a worksheet, and then immediately put it into practice. And so we're really excited about that because we work with lots of different size organizations, but this gives us an opportunity to interact with individual leaders and their teams. We offer coaching through it so we can actually help them through the process. But we're really looking forward to it. And again, it just came from feedback from folks who were navigating a challenging time during the pandemic and saying, hey, would you have a resource like this? And so now we do, and we're excited to bring it to the world.
Well, as we like to say, feedback is a gift. Right, in the startup world, right? Good, bad, from employees, customers, whoever. Feedback is a gift. And if you could plug your website, how do we find you and contact you?
Yeah, so our website is teamsandco.com. It's TEAMESANDCO. So teamsandco.com. You can follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. But yeah, we'd love to hear from you. We offer consultations if you're interested, so you can come to our website, sign up for a free consultation, and just ask questions, and hopefully if we can't help you, we try to connect you to folks who can. But we would love to hear from you.
Tell you something I rephrase or paraphrase often is the Steve Schwartzman quote that complex problems boil down to just a couple of variables. Solving those variables, everything else works out. And my big takeaway from this recording with you, Tracy, is giving employees meaning, guardrails, making sure they're empowered. The rest is going to work itself out. I'm simplifying quite a bit of our conversation and what you provide for companies and what you can find on Teams Global. So I recommend our listeners to check it out and reach out to you if they need to learn more. Thank you so much for spending time with us on Talking Ship.
Well, thanks for having me. I really enjoyed talking to both you and Juliana, and look forward to listening to some upcoming episodes.
You got it. And you can find us where, Juliana? On every podcast platform in the world?
Every single one. Thousands of them, I'm sure.
We're going to get an RSS feed, and we are going to beam these episodes right to people's pockets.
Yep, absolutely.
Great. Well, Tracy, you have a podcast too. How do we hear your podcast?
We do, yeah. I appreciate Jeff. You were one of our guests this year, so that was.
They say
awesome.
a lot of people say it was the best episode.
We hear it often too. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't want to have to say it, but I think
Well,
it's
I'm
fair
happy
that
to
your
anytime.
listeners to know
It was
that
the best
you were
episode.
one of the favorites. Yeah,
Appropriately.
so it's called Building Teams with Teams and Co. And again, we just talk to leaders like Jeff around around the world that just have good ideas around how do you build teams, how do you build that empowerment, and just share leadership lessons. So we love it. It launches every Thursday, our new episodes. But yeah, Building Teams at Teams and Co. And you can find us also on all the streaming podcast platforms. We also have the video available on YouTube.
Well, I'm going to keep going here for a minute now because you brought something up I want to mention. Because I feel like here at Venture Asheville, I don't really have a team. Like I have to borrow Juliana from our marketing team, but my team is the mentors, and you're one of our mentors in Elevate. And at my job interview here, Kit Kramer, our CEO, asked me all her questions were about experience managing volunteers, which in itself is a team because we don't pay our mentors. We can't. It would break the rules with MIT and the licensing agreement we have. So it's all about motivation and meaning, right? For us, it's all about the meaning our mentors are getting, knowing that they're helping our companies, they're helping startups, helping them grow. So we do things like report back metrics to them constantly, like jobs they've helped create, revenue their teams have produced, investment they've earned. And if you're curious, as of July 2021, that's 277 high-paying jobs, well over $61,000 a year. That's the average. Our companies have earned 26 million in angel and venture capital, and they've made over 83 million in revenue. That's local Asheville companies because of the work that our mentors do. So those little facts and figures, right, going back to what's measurable, is how we motivate and keep one of the ways we motivate others. We do gifts and feed them and have a big social component as well to feed different parts of the soul. There's a mind, body, spirit there, which Seneca talks about on the shortness of life, that you have to feed your mind, body, and soul. And then we do that with our mentors.
Yeah, I think you also do a really great thing, just kind of being a part of the community and seeing how you manage the quote unquote team, right? Is Venture Asheville has done a phenomenal job of building community, right? And so community is just another word for team. And one of the ways you do that is through the Venture 15, right? You celebrate success. And that's super exciting, right? Because it allows the startups in the program to see what success could look like, and it allows them to dream big. It thanks the mentors, right? It kind of celebrates everybody's collective effort. And it builds that team where maybe the startups are individual, or maybe it's 2 founders, or a very small team of 3 people, but it kind of builds that extended team for them. And so I think it's another great thing that you all do is that kind of Venture 15 and that celebrating success. Because for teams, all too often, we work really hard, we'll put in long hours, and then we just move on to the next project. And so that celebration and that reporting of metrics is critically important and such a fun thing. And I know everybody in the community loves it, when those celebrations come about.
Yeah, we really go at it for the Venture 15. And we are back this year. I'll announce it right now with you, Tracy. Save the date, Venture 15 2021, December 16th, back at the Orange Peel, Southeast premier concert venue.
Awesome. I'm glad I got to be a part of the announcement episode.
Yeah, surprise, surprise. Well, Tracy, thank you again for spending time with us. We've learned a lot from you, and we're glad you're now a Buncombe County resident, maybe a City of Asheville resident, to have you really deep-rooted in our community on our team. Thank you so much, Tracy.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Juliana.
Juliana, anything else you want to do to wrap up? Anything fun to wrap up the episode? Any other quick, clever banter we can think of?
I mean, we've already talked about lunch, so I can't really think of anything more interesting than that.
I feel like left out that I didn't have a caprese salad today.
Oh no, you're missing out.
It's only like a tomato and mozzarella. That's all you need. A little basil.
No.
Juliana, in your opinion, you've been here a couple months.
Yeah.
We're getting to know each other.
Yeah.
Describe the culture of Venture Asheville in 3 words.
I feel like I've been overusing this word lately,
So don't use it. Don't use it. Nope.
I don't. But my thesaurus is lacking.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, hungry. I like that. I don't know. Venture Asheville feels hungry to me, and just motivated, exciting, and forward thinking.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I don't know. I'm diving into my thesaurus.
If you out there are hungry and motivated and forward thinking and have a healthy dissatisfaction with the status quo, give us a call and look us up. See how we can help you out. VentureAsheville.com. All right, that's it for this episode of Talking Ship. We'll see you all on the next voyage.
Oh yeah, because ships,
Thank you for helping land that punchline.
It's always better when you explain it, right?
I wonder when we're going to cut this episode off.
Right about here.